Today, we're diving even deeper into Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, the indie RPG sensation that doesn't just blur the line between turn-based strategy and real-time precision. It paints over it entirely in dramatic, melancholic brushstrokes. Critics call it a technical marvel, players call it a spiritual gut punch. But what truly makes this game resonate is how it redefines what a small team can achieve when driven by heart, not budget. Imagine the elegant detail of Sea of Stars and the sweaty palm precision of Yakuza, like a dragon fused with the surrealist French art house vision, then infused with the philosophical ambition of Nier, Automata, and the intimate sorrow of Greece. Now imagine it doing all of that while also crafting a world so full of painterly detail that each scene feels curated, like stepping through the strokes of a dream you once forgot you had. This game doesn't just offer a story, it offers a meditation on memory, mortality, and identity. And yet, there's so much more hiding behind the all-painted surface. From its world building to its smallest combat interactions, Clair Obscur feels like a living, breathing narrative canvas. Players aren't just controlling characters, they're interpreting metaphors, building meaning through engagement. As the game deepens, so too does the connection between action and emotion. What begins as a stylish indie title quickly grows into a sprawling emotional epic, with moments of subtle intimacy, gut-wrenching sacrifice, and philosophical exploration woven into every quest, battle, and pause for reflection. The pacing allows these emotional swells to build naturally, never feeling rushed, yet never dragging, and it results in a rhythm uniquely the game's own. Across platforms, the praise is nearly unanimous, with Metacritic scores hovering at 92 for PC and PS5 and climbing as high as 95 on Xbox, and OpenCritic confirming this acclaim with another 92. Clair Obscur has already positioned itself as one of the standout RPGs of the decade. Steam users reflect a similar sentiment, with over 90% of reviews turning positive after the Day 1 patch. Playtime varies widely, some breeze through in 20 hours, others linger for 60, uncovering every secret, every shard of painted lore. Critics have noted not just the visual richness, but the weighty storytelling and gameplay precision that elevated far beyond expectations for a game from a small studio. What's more, comparisons to the aesthetic cohesion of indie art games like Journey and Greece only reinforce the narrative clarity and elegance this game achieves. What makes this especially impressive is the size of the team. For a dozen developers at Sandfall Interactive, this is a towering achievement. Their passion seeps into every frame, from the lush, hand-brushed landscapes to the intimate storytelling beats. It's not just about mechanics or visuals, it's about tone, texture, and emotional truth. The development process itself, from early prototypes built in Unreal Engine 5 to the iterative combat tweaks made after beta feedback, shows a team dedicated to both artistic vision and technical refinement. Community testers were reportedly consulted multiple times during the design of advanced enemies and boss phase transitions, ensuring that every battle felt earned, never cheap. And this polish shows. Even complex boss encounters with multiple forms feel choreographed, theatrical, and memorable. Each enemy has a rhythm, and learning that rhythm becomes part of the emotional arc of the player. The combat system doesn't just ask you to win, it asks you to understand. Every mechanic tells a story. Cape prompts symbolize reflexive emotion. Parrying becomes an act of defiance. Dodging, a metaphor for avoidance. Boss fights transform into psychological showdowns. Some late-game enemies appear differently depending on your party's choices and trauma. A quiet yet powerful mechanic allows one character's failures to alter their stance animations over time, subtle, visual reminders of who they are becoming. The combat is not only physical, but psychological, inviting introspection and even empathy for your enemies. A traditional turn-based core is elevated by real-time decisions that demand rhythm, memory, and nerves of steel. You don't just choose an attack, you live it. Action points fuel a delicate dance between aggression and defense. The more skilled you become, the more aggressive your economy can be. Some players rely on defensive parry chains to regenerate AP, while others risk everything on high-stakes elemental bursts. It's this multiplicity, this capacity, to mold the combat into personal expression that elevates Clair Obscur above its peers. The combat even ties into the game's themes of art and control, each choice a brushstroke, each combo a performance. The narrative unfolds in a dreamlike version of Belle Epoque France, cursed by an annual catastrophe known as the Gamage. Each year, the mystical paintress etches a number into a monolith and everyone older than that number vanishes. Society has adapted, some with ritualistic awe, others with resistance. Expedition 33, the 33rd group to defy fate and confront the paintress, is your window into this crumbling yet beautiful world. Lore fragments scattered across the map hint at deeper true civil wars sparked by previous monolith decrees, banned books of prophecy, and regional schisms between believers and deniers of the paintress's divine role. The world is built through visual storytelling, murals that shift as the story progresses, ruins that hum with memory, townsfolk who speak in riddles formed from forgotten lullabies. This game doesn't just present a story, it creates a conversation. Between the player and the world, between characters themselves, and between narrative threads pulled from optional content. Spend time exploring forgotten shrines, and you'll find verses scrawled in fading inclines that mirror a party member's dialogue from hours earlier, connecting theme to character development with poetic precision. Narrative echoes like these transform what might be environmental flavor into personal revelation. Some interactions are so subtle that only repeated playthroughs or obsessive note-taking will connect all the narrative dots. The gear system is equally inventive. Pictos, over 50 of them, serve as equipable modifiers, each unlockable through repeated battles. Once mastered, their abilities become shareable via Luminina points, opening up complex, team-wide synergies. Weapons, too, are more than stat sticks. Elemental affinities, passive traits, and character-specific scaling mean a blade is as much an identity as a tool. Gustav charges lightning through his gauntlet. Mel shifts between battle stances for varying buffs. Loon spellcraft builds on stains that stack and burst into combo chains. Esqui, the party's traversal ally, even has customizable modes that open hidden environmental paths or solve narrative-based puzzles. This customization reflects deeper personal growth. A sword becomes a symbol, a picto becomes a memory, and every equipment choice is laced with emotional significance. Music is another pillar of this masterpiece. Testar's soundtrack heightens every beat, every revelation. Each region has a mood, each character a theme. Silence is used like a weapon, footsteps echo in the absence of dialogue. Whirlwind whips gently through the camp when Loon floats instead of walks. Leitmotifs evolve across the story, subtle reworks of melodies you heard in Act I reappear in tragic minor chords in Act 3. Some regions use ambient soundscapes that mimic real-world field recordings, while others are infused with ghostly vocalizations that shift pitch based on the emotional state of your party. The result is a living, breathing audio tapestry, never overwhelming, but always enhancing. Visually, Clair Obscur stuns, the environments ranging from the lush decay of spring meadows to the twilight ruin of Mirror Marsh are painted like gallery pieces. Characters animate with nuance thanks to motion captured performances, and the UI doesn't interrupt the immersion, it flows with it. Each visual choice supports the thematic core, color shifts during memory scenes, surreal distortions in areas heavy with loss, and painterly brush textures that feel alive with narrative intent. Even menu transitions, ink bleeding into paper, brush strokes sweeping across character profiles contribute to the overarching metaphor of storytelling as art. In moments of loss, entire areas change hue, shifting from vibrant tones to washed-out sepia, a visual metaphor for grief. Exploration rewards the curious. Enemies patrol visible paths, avoiding random encounters in favor of strategic positioning. Traversal expands with tools, Esqui's flight, breakable barriers, underwater paths, and every new zone teases secrets. Optional areas house legendary foes, hidden storylines, and vinyl records you can play at camp to unlock ambient tracks and extra lore. Some puzzles respond not to logic, but emotion-only, opening after the player pauses, breathes, and revisits a previously ignored corner of the world. Others hide in plain sight, requiring players to align shadows or reflect sunlight just right to reveal hidden paths mechanics that feel more like moments of revelation than puzzles. This philosophy extends into how Clair Obscur treats failure. Death is never cheap. Instead of simply restarting, players might awaken in altered versions of prior locations, repainting past moments from new perspectives. Occasionally, losing to a boss leads to new dialogue, or a dreamlike memory sequence that provides context for your setback. These aren't punishment, they're perspective shifts. Losing reveals just as much as winning does. By endgame, builds feel personalized, lethal, and expressive. Each player's Expedition 33 feels slightly different, crafted not just through choices, but through playstyle and failure. The game rewards mastery not by handing you power, but by inviting you to understand its rhythm, and that rhythm becomes your own. Even the post-game unlockables reinforce this theme, with new zones that challenge your interpretations of the main story. Here's a tinfoil theory for the lore lovers. What if the paintress doesn't kill, but preserves? The monolith numbers might not be a countdown to death, but a key to cyclical memory. Maybe Expedition 33 isn't meant to succeed, but to remember. Future DLC could explore this further, perhaps even let us step into the paintress's brushstrokes. There are theories that the paintress is actually the amalgam of forgotten expeditioners, and each stroke on the monolith is their last memory, not a number. Technically, things have stabilized, early crashes have largely been resolved, and Steam Deck performance is gradually improving with developer support. A patch roadmap promises photo mode, new game plus enhancements, and more paintress lore. One particularly intriguing tease, a reverse mode where you play as the paintress herself, trying to stop the expeditions. If that happens, expect the lore floodgates to burst wide open. When I first launched Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, I expected another beautiful but fleeting indie RPG. Instead, I got a game that stayed with me visually, mechanically, emotionally. And I'm not alone. I've seen streamers cry over character moments, fans compose music in tribute, and Reddit threads flooded with fan art and analysis. It's become a cult hit with substance one players don't just finish, but continue discussing long after the credits roll. If you felt even a fraction of that while reading this, consider joining us. Subscribe to the channel. Not for numbers, but to keep discovering gems like this together, games that challenge, surprise, and inspire. Let's keep parrying through the noise and finding beauty in the painted chaos. As Expedition 33 teaches us, sometimes the answer isn't defeating the enemy, but understanding why the fight began at all. In every sense, Clair Obscur, Expedition 33 is a masterpiece, one that dares to blend style with substance, art with agony, and memory with motion. Few games aim so high and fewer still land with such a resounding, painterly impact.